Hello, welcome to the Agent Odyssey. My name's Matt Wyman. I am CEO and co-founder of Acario. Acario provides a simulation environment so you can put your agents through their paces before they hit your customers. Today, I'm really excited to have Ajantha Suriyanarayanan with us. She's an expert in behavioral sciences, behavioral research, having had leadership positions at a number of very notable companies. And she comes to us leading Mental Load AI, which I think you're about to rebrand as Melo, uh, to really tackle a whole set of problems that are actually harder to see but impact us every day. So, Ajantha, please tell us a bit about what you're up to.
Thank you so much for having me on, Matt. Really thrilled to be here.
Absolutely.
Um, Mental load AI, as the name suggests, is tackling the sheer mental load that people carry day in and day out. Um, I say people, all of us do have a degree of mental load, but we're specifically focused on the mental load that women, moms especially, carry on a day to day to day basis. Why the target audience? I have been asked this a lot. Like, do men not have mental load? Do dads not have mental load? 100%. Yes, absolutely. Um, the reason I started to tackle it is uh, this is not, some whiteboard exercise that came up with it. I'm living it every day. I am a mom. And as you said, behavioral researcher, product strategist leading large organizations for like 22 years. Um, had to show up with 100% intensity at work, had to show up with 100% intensity at home. Right now, my kids are 9 and 5, but imagine 2, 3 years ago, the need for mama to be around is always there. And the way in which my mind was running 20 different browser tabs inside my own brain, um, without the ability to close them down, in spite of having an amazing partner who's supportive, which is it's all shared between us, it was a lot. And I had to pause for a second and say, this doesn't feel right. What do we do? And tried out the gamut of tools that are out there. Um, and without finding one, I decided, like any good Silicon Valley person would do, we said, let's try and build this out ourselves. 100+ interviews later, here we are with Mental Load AI. And as you rightly said, it's getting rebranded to Melo because our users are affectionately starting to call it Melo. Melo short for mental load and gives them a feeling of being mellow. So that's
I
where
love
mental load came from.
I love the fact that you're actually getting that wonderful feedback and you're able to pull all the way through into naming. Um, you've described this as the invisible work problem, where there's this whole other layer of work that exists, but it's hard to see. And as a founder building a company where you're trying to create an outcome when the actual measures are hard to put your finger on, but the experience is so universal, how do you start to square that as you're thinking about, you know, trying to build and trying to show value in the product itself?
That is a great question. Uh, in a way, isn't it ironic that the solution is kind of manifesting itself in a manner of the problem? Um, Mental load AI, the way we've built it is a family intelligence OS. It functions as a chief of staff for families, especially for moms. Now, what does that mean? Um, I'm sure you've had this in your life. I've had this day to day where we've seen women who are sitting in a large meeting room, smashing it at work. Presentations landing well, leadership's nodding along. We're all encouraging her. But then she's got, beneath the facade of what she's talking about, she's running a whole other meeting with her own self where
Mm.
she's talking about, did I give the right dosage of Tylenol to my kid this morning? Did I change the toothbrush heads out? Did I swap them out? I need to sign the permission slip by end of day today. Otherwise, my kid doesn't get to go to the field trip. I need to buy mother-in-law's birthday gift. I need to check in on my parents' doctor appointment and how it went. I'm worried about my mom's knee. Um, there is all of this stuff that is constantly running at the back of her mind. And that is the invisible labor that we're trying to tackle. The problem is what we see and hear from other women, especially those with children under 18, because over 18, they're in college. You don't need to remind them to brush their teeth.
You
You
hope.
don't. I'm not there yet, but give me some hope. When you're handling younger children, it's a lot to tackle. Even women who have incredibly supportive partners, they've all been certain to call out that the partners are supportive. They come and ask, how can I support you? How can I help you? How can I alleviate this mental load for you? But the issue is that then drives them into making lists. The make me a list phenomenon is what we call it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Tell me what to do. Tell me how I can help you. Um, and what we're saying is that is a project management unto itself, project management effort to itself. Making a list, figuring out who is good at tackling that list. Laundry needs to get done. Who's going to see that laundry detergent is empty and it needs to be added to the monthly shopping list? Who is going to notice that the rain boots are becoming smaller? Not only do you need to order or buy a new pair of rain boots, you also need to donate the old ones because you're environmentally conscious. You can't just chuck it in the trash. All of that is the mental load. So when she is having to identify the right people, identify what they need to do, how they need to do it, so it's done to satisfaction, done the right way. It's all another project management effort. It's not necessarily alleviating her mental load. That's why we built Melo, or Mental ODI, now Melo, to help identify that invisible labor without her having to name it. It's a subliminal mechanism of functioning for most of us. Women know that school lunch needs to be packed. They will, when they're making lists, they will typically say school lunch needs to be packed. When a nanny steps in and says, okay, I'll pack school lunch, she packs the school lunch, tick the box. But then what is sometimes left undone is noticing that the goldfish crackers is low in quantity and it needs to be added to the grocery list. It's not just any goldfish cracker. It has to be that rainbow goldfish cracker, mind you. That gets missed. That is the invisible labor. So when we're building a product for solving invisible labor, it becomes that much harder to even talk about it because that labor is invisible. It's the same challenge we as a society had a few years ago, where we said it's an external injury somebody has, you could put a band-aid or a plaster on it and you're fine. If it's a mental issue and a mental well-being concern, someone's feeling depressed, someone's feeling down, we did not have the words to articulate what that was. And then societally, we had to decide that it is something we're going to name and then solve for. That's what we're doing here. We're going to name that invisible labor mental load. Much research has been done on this over the last few decades. It's in the past 5 to 8 years that it's really come up to the surface level of pop culture, so to speak. That's where all products get picked up from, tech products. It's surfaced up where we are now able to name it and say what it is. So building a product that is solving an issue that is hard to see makes it that much harder. Our marketing right now is focused not only on saying download Melo, use Melo. It's more on saying give yourself credit. Mamas out there, give yourself credit. You're doing way more than you're meant to carry. So recognize that. Recognition is the first step in finding a solution. So if you go into our Facebook page or our Instagram page, you'll see that what we're talking about is calling out what moms are carrying. From there, we'll then go into how they can use their village, their partners, their nannies, their parents, whoever is around to help, using that village, how they can offload and how Melo supports them without them becoming the household project manager.
The family intelligence OS is an amazing term, pulling it all together. But it strikes me through that you're also talking about the existing tooling that people might turn to, the various productivity apps and whatnot, not working because you already have to know what to put into them, which is its own work to itself. But if in this case, though, if you were like the mom's running this household, she has all these experiences, she's maybe even tried using some of these tools? I know in my family, we used sticky notes all over. I'm sure you've seen all sorts of variations of that. Uh, After you've seen that fail, it doesn't necessarily mean that you know what to turn towards. And I think that's a really interesting part of what you're describing in the naming. And so, how are you making inroads into the visibility? Because you have to be discoverable. No matter how perfect the solution is, if people don't even know to turn towards you,
Absolutely.
then they don't know that there's even an opportunity to resolve this experience they're having. So, how have you thought about making that visible, and how have you thought about shaping the product to make it really clear what you're actually delivering in terms of value, given that it is in so many respects, hard to see?
That is a fantastic question. I'll just put this out there. As your listeners are listening to this, if they have ideas of how we can position Melo, hello@mentalloadai.com. Just email us, tell us what you think. I'm all yours. But Matt, you're absolutely right. This is a problem that is, for most people, hard to name. So finding a solution, how are they even going to go find a solution for it? We have built this as a family intelligence OS. But can you imagine an average person, anybody that you or I might know, our friends, going and searching for, I would like a family intelligence OS? No, nope, absolutely nobody does that. So we are building it to function as a family intelligence OS. It functions as a chief of staff for the family. But nailing that positioning is a work in progress, and I'll be the first to admit that. Why is that? To your point, you know, the problem is not that women are disorganized. The problem is that they are uber organized. And that's how the family is running, right? You just said your family uses a whole bunch of post-it notes. So does mine. We use post-it notes. I wish you could see my office right now. It's covered in post-it notes. Post-it notes, sheets of paper scribbled on, brain dumps everywhere. We've got some women have told me they've got whiteboards that are in a visible place. Some are using printed out calendars pinned up to the fridge. So everybody knows which kid is in which activity on which day and who's taking them. Can you imagine having 4 or 5 different tools to run a household, and one person, mom, is holding everything together? That is putting an unfair amount on her. And the patchwork solution is holding up. It's holding up for the family, but it's not holding up for her brain. Her brain is on overdrive. She is, overwhelmed without recognizing that she's overwhelmed. Find any mom that a friend of yours that you know and ask her, when was the last time she took time for herself that did not involve doom scrolling at 11 p.m.? The answer will be very rare, because moms don't take that time for themselves because they are in this patchwork mechanism of coordinating everything for everyone. So here's why Melo as a solution is what we've built, what we're proposing is going to solve that issue. You have a brain dump, a thought. You're walking down the street, and she sees this poster for a really cool balloon animal workshop, and she thinks, "Hey, my 6-year-old would love to have that for her birthday party, but birthday party is 2 months away." So she's going to take a picture of it, probably WhatsApp it to herself, probably email it to herself, probably register it in her mind. But then 2 months is a long time in the life of a mom's brain. She's going to forget about it. What if she could take a picture of that, just share it to Melo, and it's able to process it and hold it for her? Down the line, when it's time for her to plan the birthday party, she opens the app up and just says, "Hey, Melo, my 6-year-old's party is coming up. I'd like some ideas." Melo is able to go search in her profile and say, "Hey, this balloon animal workshop is something you thought she might enjoy. So how about that? How about we consider that a balloon animal theme for the party?" And then go from there. Let's plan it step by step. So it not only walks her step by step through it, it's also able to suggest to her, why don't we involve your husband or partner or whoever in this process? While you take care of the theme, they can take care of the decorations and the food ordering. Then you figure out what your daughter's present is going to be. They will take care of invitation list. So it's able to see the problem holistically, take this patchwork system of post-it notes, of whiteboard scribbles, of notes in the brain stored somewhere, bring it all to the fore in one place, recognize how much she's doing, how much she's carrying, and then distribute it to her village without her having to do any of it. And not only that, it takes the task of birthday planning, party planning down into what we are cutely calling tasklets, and says, here is what you need to do for the invitations. And then when you open that, it's going to give you task details, which says, figure out which kids your friend wants to invite, make sure that all the kids get along, see if you want to invite one or two parents with it, etc. And then the next tasklet would be ordering food, check for allergies. Here is a suggestion I make. Keep it simple or keep it complex. If it's simple, I'll just add it to your weekly grocery list so you can just buy the extra strawberries. Imagine if that is done for her, instead of her having to write list after list, have post-it note after post-it note, have whiteboard after whiteboard, all of which tend to get missed. It's all in one place. That's what.
I love this. So quite often, founders who are starting companies are either starting with a business metric that they're going to go fix, like, oh, this will improve this metric by 30%, and that justifies this product. Or they end up on the other side, which is they have some cool technical capability that they really like, and they're kind of a solution looking for a problem. But you've really honed in on a human experience problem, right? That you're describing here, and then built a company around it. So now I'm curious though, does that mean you built the company differently? Does like how what about the actual product itself is being influenced by this by Melo itself and how you're approaching Melo?
So glad you brought that up. You're right. The human experience is front and center for us. Yes, we have all the product and business metrics of what are our growth stats, what's
Of
the
course.
DAU, MAU, all of that. We're looking at it because we have to. But then all of that becomes meaningless if you're not solving the actual problem for a user. And at this stage, the goal is not only to reduce her mental load in the ether, but it does have a tangible outcome. Matt, the stats here are a little staggering. Since the pandemic, women have left the workforce at 4 times the rate of men
Wow.
because it's a large stat. Um, Justin and I think it's about 86% of women have said that they are burnt out from carrying the weight of mental load, of running a household, of running their work, of acting at home like they don't have a job, of acting at work like they don't have a life. This is affecting women in a very tangible way. And not only women, societally, because they're leaving the workforce, our GDP contribution from 50% of the population is obviously dropping. So that is a tangible societal, economic, workplace issue that is coming out of this mental load that women are carrying. So how do we address it? Our goal is, let's say we are able to clear women's some of women's 20 tabs that are running through their minds. Their brain space opens up for a bit more. So they are able to focus on work. Not that they're not focused on work right now. They're going into overdrive, having to do work and home. And so if we cleared some brain space up for them, we are giving them the platform to say, my brain space is important to me. My mental health and well-being are important to me. So I am able to chase after what I want to chase after. I am able to meet my career ambition where it needs to be. I don't have to quit my job. I don't have to decline those promo offers. I don't have to. Because there is this village that has stepped in now in her stead and is able to do the stuff that she alone has been handling in her own mind for a long time. And they're able to take that mental load away from her and give her a bit of a reprieve. So there is a tangible outcome that we're chasing after, which is enabling women to pursue whatever it is that they want to pursue, whether it's a career ambition, whether it's self-care, whether it's something else. She needs to pursue what is right for her, not just what she needs to do for the family. She needs to recognize herself as an individual. So that is the human experience that we want to deliver to people. Can that be metricified, if that's a word? Yeah, we'll figure out ways to do it.
Yeah, but I also think that it's not necessarily the only way to approach the problem. I don't think that the additional time created necessarily should be or needs to be applied to work. Right? People overloaded um, throughout their lives, as you said, feel negative impact, whether it's in the family space, connection with their partners and children,
Mhm.
ability to go, as you said, look for new roles. So, I mean, at the core of this, obviously, you're using AI. like clearly using AI at the core. Um, are you noticing that as people engage, as women engage with Melo, that there's some reticence around how Melo's making these decisions, whether it's pulling back the balloon animals or pulling back the origami animals? Like, is there worry at that level? What's the experience there?
What we're finding is so interesting because once women are in the app, they are not using it to manage tasks or just do little things. They're using it as a thought partner. Hey, Melo, what
Mm,
should I do? Or how should I think about this? So it's becoming a thought partner and truly getting into that chief of staff arena. And I'm so personally so happy to see that because we've seen that study from Harvard. Women are 25% less likely than men to adopt AI, but we're seeing in this case that women are willingly coming in and sharing what they need to share in order to uh, pull or extract the utility value from Melo as they need to, using it as a thought partner. But in general, where we see reticence is understanding that how Melo, driven by AI, is working. The reticence is coming from women or even some men I've spoken to wondering, AI will now know about my family. AI
yeah.
is dangerous. AI is going to take jobs away. Is it going to take my job away as a person who's running the household? AI does not have enough security. Like all these questions that are about AI in general are swirling through their minds and they're not wrong about it. But what I would say is maybe the way in which we're thinking about AI coming into our lives, AI helping us run our lives, needs a bit of a different framing. And what I often say is don't fear it, embrace it because it's a tool. It's a tool. We've embraced various kinds of tools, various kinds of technical tools that have come our way. Um, in the beginning, we're all going to be a little unsure about what the value is, how we're going to use it. You remember when we first started interacting with LLMs, when ChatGPT was still, an open source thing, we were all using it as an extension of Google, weren't we? What's the weather today? Should I carry a sweater? Such basic stuff. And then today, Claude Code is pretty much building products. Um, we've evolved as we use it. So similar to general AI usage and our evolution of using it in the way in which we want it, we will evolve even with Melo, where people start to get more and more comfortable with it. We see reticence when they come in. They're like, can I get a meal plan? And then they leave it at that. Week 2, they come in, get me a meal plan. I'm not going to spend any more than 20 minutes on it. And oh, by the way, make it just one pot. All of this conversational understanding is making them much more comfortable with it. Week 3, they're talking about my child needs to take a project to school for her spring show and tell. What do I take? And Melo and this person are going back and forth. So as we look at the usage expansion happening, the usage comfort happening, we see that in the 2 to 3 week spot, people are able to make that conversion to say, I am afraid of this. I'm reticent to try it out, to I am comfortable with this. I know how this is working and expanding the value they themselves are getting out of it. And what we're also able to show at that point is Meno functions like any person, any personal assistant you might hire. The biggest thing I talk about is the EQ engine, our emotional quotient. My background in behavioral sciences, plus we have an actual couples therapist consulting with us on this. And we've built an EQ engine together because the product is not customized, it is hyper personalized. So, Matt, the way the
Mm,
product is for you will not be the same way it looks for me because my Melo functions based on my EQ, my family's EQ. Your Melo functions based on your EQ, your family's EQ. So, it adapts to each family, to what they want out of it, to what their psychometric calibration is, to how they want to do it. Um, Run their household. And so this adaptation um, is what is lowering people's concerns or reservations. And it's removing that barrier for them to come in. And something else that we've been working towards is improving relationships. How Melo positively impacts couples' relationships as well.
I would definitely want to dig into that in just a moment, but I'm very intrigued with this moment that you're describing. Many organizations, companies, products that are using AI are personifying them. They're giving them names, and they're trying to bring forward this entity to
Mhm.
try to create some focus for the user, and how to interact. Others are sort of bringing the sort of intelligence into the tooling itself, so the tooling is adaptive and the tooling is aware. And then, of course, we have on top of that all these new edges for interaction. We've seen the rise of the chatbot, like that. It went from being the annoying thing that's sitting on the website to something you actually want to sit and have a conversation with. Uh, we've also seen voice and video and other mechanisms show up. You have a lot of experience and depth on user interaction, research, behavior, et cetera. And I'm curious how you're thinking about, and not necessarily where you are today, but where you're going so far, as you know, with Melo, as you're seeing it go forward. How are you thinking about the user experience at that level to tackle things like reticence, to tackle onboarding, and to make it a part of a person's daily lives?
I love that. Like I said, this is a tool that we're providing to people in order to reduce their mental load. What we're seeing is the more people talk to Melo, the more comfortable they get. And that's because Melo is constantly uh, assessing how you're feeling, what you like, what you don't like, and it's storing it in your profile. So it knows how to speak to you. We have talked about what you said, giving their tool a personality, a persona. We have talked about that. We haven't built it. I don't think we're ready for that yet. We have talked about, could I come back from a rough day at work and say, I just want to talk to my mom. How did she handle a tough work challenge while raising us as kids? And just have that conversation. Um, to get to that point, we don't feel ready yet because market readiness is a very important signal. Apple TV was introduced in the early noughts. There was no market readiness, so it had to be pulled out from market, millions invested, millions lost. And then when they came back in the early 10s, that's when the market readiness was there. That's when it picked up. Same product, same principles, but just it's the mental model of users that mattered. Same way, the mental model of users, the way we're looking at it from Melo today is sticky notes, calendars, whiteboards, stuff in my own brain. We are looking to take it step by step so that we can say, bring all of that into one place. Let's combine that. That's step one. Step two, allow us to reference all these different sources so that you don't have to be the one keeping track of where everything is at all times. So that's step two. Step three is the degree of comfort, where they're able to come over and say, I'm exhausted. I love my kids, but I can't make another meal, 4 different meals for the four people in the household. Like that degree of comfort, that degree of vulnerability takes some exposure to the product for you to be able to come and say it rather than saying, give me a meal plan. So step four then becomes, okay, how do you extend that comfort? And are you then able to say, is this man able, my wife's birthday is coming up, and she and I met by the Bay Bridge, this restaurant in San Francisco. And so I want something that commemorates that. That's a very personal detail he's putting in there. That's the degree of comfort we want to get to, where they're using it as a thought partner and able to share some tidbits of their life so it can function as a chief of staff. So we're taking it step by step before giving a name to that character, before avataring it, before giving it a whole personality. We do have a personality for Melo, which is your and a point of comfort for the family, for the individuals. You are a companion, you are a compassionate person. So with all of those, Melo is able to function today, being what the user needs today. As we go along, we could always expand how it functions with
Of
them,
course.
how it resumes.
I just think I mean, it's phenomenal. And I love the steps. This notion, it feels like a double-edged sword. On the one side, by providing a name and a persona, you can start to build trust, and there's we naturally are able to have a different kind of conversation if we can project ourselves into the other side and we have some idea of who we're talking to. Whereas a pure tool, there's a tendency to just task it and tell it what to do because the intelligence of the tool itself is not necessarily visible. And so but we're weaving these together now, and you're weaving these together, and you're articulating a pathway to bring them together. But I think it's a fascinating challenge that a lot of founders are having in this space as they're trying to figure out how to build these types of social supports. Well, actually, you're unique in building a really interesting social support system, but I think others are building these sort of social tools that are trying to pull people together. As you're thinking about the workforce and how people use this tool, how women use this tool to, I was going to say automate, but they're not really automating, but to help improve and create space in the family environment. Do you see that there's a sort of a network of connection that brings people back into the workforce that but changes how we do so? Do we think we create new expectations as people have this capability and then look towards their work and wonder where is it?
Um, and in terms of the workforce, you mean the support system at home, their family system, or the workforce as in work?
The let me take a step to the side and I'll come back at it. So way back when it was said, the most capable products are enterprise products. But then consumer products became the ones that had to be bulletproof because we're using them in our daily lives. They have all our privacy and personal information. Now we start to think about changing mental load in the family space. We start thinking differently about how we interact in this family space where we have so many balls that are being juggled at the same time. We can't drop them and we need help with them. We need creativity. I can imagine once I've experienced that, I'm going to turn and look at my workspace and say, oh, come on.
Yes,
Where's my help?
yes.
And then do I drag Melo with me? Or does Melo stay in one domain and then have connections to other items in other domains? Do we end up with a network of this in the various workplaces and workforces?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic way to articulate it. Um, the answer is both. That's a TLDR, but I'll explain why. Maybe a couple of weeks ago, I did a talk at a conference, and the title of it was, and I titled it deliberately, Before 9 a.m., the leadership crisis no one is measuring. What that really means is, how do we start our days? We're in a work, let's say 9 to 5 p.m. That's not the tech work environment any longer. We're always on. But if we said 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., these moms' lives start way earlier. Early morning, 5:30 a.m. call with the global team, because that's when they can get it done before the kids are up. Then get the kids up, dress them, get them ready for school, pack lunch, get breakfast. Of course, the little one doesn't want to have cereal. They want waffles when you've made cereal. Fine. So you're running a decision tree in your mind. How much time am I going to spend fighting this compared to how much time am I going to spend just making the waffles? So that's a point of decision. And then you drop them off at school and she feels guilty because other moms or other parents, dads are volunteering. And this person, she cannot because she's got this big presentation due. She cannot take time off. She commutes to work, does everything right. She delivers her best self. Everyone's, being able to, everyone's able to observe how much has gone into her work. And then she has to leave work at 4:30 or 5 p.m. to rush back to school, pick the kids up, take them for soccer practice, bring them back home, make dinner, again, have this, oh, broccoli is yucky argument for the 17th time just that week, and then prep them for bed, and then log back in at 10 p.m. That is the,
Small
like,
day, sure. Nothing going on.
no, nothing, just, easy peasy. Um, so why do I say this? Why do I bring this up? Before 9 a.m., women have carried the weight of an entire household on their shoulders that should be exhausting enough for an entire day's work. But no, that's only their first shift. Their second shift is going into the office and smashing things at work. And then their third shift is coming back home and doing everything that the family needs. 3 shifts on one person, the math isn't mathing there. That just doesn't
Yeah.
work. And
Yeah.
so can you imagine if, you know how companies are today offering Calm or Headspace as an employee wellness benefit? Can you imagine the likes of Google, Meta, Visa, my former, alma maters, my former companies, offering these things as an employee benefit so that women are able to say, I have this, I can do this, I can delegate where I need to. Melo's enabling me to anticipate what I tend to anticipate in my own head, but Melo is here to support me. Then Melo can delegate it to my partner if he's free, my nanny if she's free, my parents if they are free, or an older kid. Can you imagine a 14-year-old being told they need to do their laundry and then Melo becomes the nag? It's orchestrating it, and mom is
Which actually might work better because of separation. Yep.
because of the separation. Exactly. And Melo might be able to go tell the teenager, don't be cap about this, bruh. Let's just get it done. Something mom can't say. And to your point earlier, might be able to automate it. If when we get to the point of agentic autonomous execution, that's the direction in which we want to go. We want to take Melo, where if I say I want to order party supplies for my child's birthday, Melo is able to connect to your account, Amazon account or whatever, order it, have it delivered to you 2 days before the party. So you're saving that additional load that you need to carry. So if employers are able to support their employees with this as an employment benefit, then yes, we're absolutely able to take it with us to work from a different look.
From a different lens. I love that. So, I, so then what's the human skill that people need to go figure out so they can be ready for this new world where we have these kinds of tools available to us that are helping us with mental load? Like, where do you think people need to really focus?
People need to shed fear. I think it's
Same.
the fear of the unknown that's driving a lot of the conversation, a lot of the rhetoric in the market about AI usage, about the tools that are built upon AI. If we're able to shed that fear and look at it as a tool that is going to enable us to function better, we will have a completely different lens on adoption, not just of Melo, of any AI platform out there. I think what's driving a lot of us is some of the use cases we're hearing about where Melo is being, not Melo, where LLMs, AI tools in
More generally.
are being used for legal advice, are being used for as a therapist. There are platforms that are specifically training their AI to be a therapist. That's different. Platforms specifically training their AI to guide you in the right legal path. That's different. But going to a generic LLM and asking specialized questions, that's what is causing fear for people. And I'd say be specific about what the tool is meant for. Consider it a tool, understand what it's meant for, and explore. Once you start to explore, you understand what it is able to give to you, and you're able to derive the right value that the individual needs.
Don't be afraid.
Don't
Explore.
be afraid.
Learn. Love it. Love it.
So,
So important, right? Not just in with AI, but across just generally across these new areas. Because I think the social fabric's changing because we're able to bring in tools like this where we are able to operate differently and behave differently. So
absolutely.
thank you, Ajantha. Wonderful conversation today. Love what you're building.
Thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate this conversation, and I hope more of us are able to shed our mental load.
Absolutely.